Just ask any Marine today, would she rather carry 20 pounds of batteries or a rolled up solar panel? And I am positive she will tell you a solar panel, and so would he.
Democrats are set to take control of the U.S. Senate, House, and the White House.
This will go down as one of the most progressive administrations in American history.
God willing, everything is on the table.
You now can pass things without a filibuster threat.
That's right.
Oh, you'll regret this, and you may regret it a lot sooner than you think.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. That's where we are. That's where we are now.
Listen, I hope everybody had a absolutely fantastic Memorial Day, and we remembered all of those who've served our country and given the absolute maximum their lives to protect our freedoms. I hope nobody had to listen to Kamala Harris. I'll be frank with you.
Yeah, let's say she's probably the person who has the least clue of what that day is about. Thank God for our brave patriots who are willing to give so much so we can have so much. We are grateful to them, and clearly Kamala just doesn't get it.
I mean, dude, she started the weekend by saying, like, hey, everybody have a great long weekend.
Yeah, hey, folks, it's a 3-day weekend. Everybody just rage out. I mean, granted, but still, you have to know who paid so you can. You know what I mean? Like, let's be serious. This is supposed to be you're the vice president. You're like a heartbeat away. And to be that clueless and to be like, listen, our military needs to focus on, carrying solar panels. Meanwhile, China's like, oh, yes, they do.
Yeah,
Gary, hope that's your focus.
Gary,
we'll make those solar panels. Your folks can carry them. It's going to make things a lot easier for us.
My favorite was all the virtue signaling contained within one statement.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's not enough to just talk about battery packs versus solar panels. Like, what difference does it make? You're fighting a war, right? You just want to win.
Uh-huh.
Right? You want to keep our troops safe and you want to protect American values. All that. No. It's actually, we have environmental concerns. But then the second piece of it is she just sort of throws in the she. Right?
Had to do that.
Had to gender the Marine, because there's 9% of the Marines that are women. So it's important that she just genders the entire Marines, including the 91% who aren't in the
And I love that the libs created this whole game, because they know how absurd this game is. And they are like, hold up. Now you're going to get attacked from the left for being like, what about folks who are, not identifying as, like, this is incredibly offensive. It marginalizes in others. It's like, come on, man.
I'm terribly offended by the non-binary people who
Can't we just focus on the job of our Marines? They are individuals who protect our country and have gotten us where we are and allow us to live so happily, and not be like, I want a woman carrying solar panels in the Marines. Like,
do you remember
the focus of that, man?
Do you remember the house prayer by Emmanuel Cleaver where he said, Amen and woman?
Yeah, that is really something. That's perfect.
This reminds me of that.
That's exactly so. Like,
just nonsensical.
So, semi-related. I was watching this series, this like TV show called For All Mankind. Right, awesome show. We binged the whole thing in like a week. But on the show, the premise is episode 1. What if the Soviets got to the moon first? Right.
Yep.
And it shows the alternate history that they create. It's kind of like Man in the High Castle, but actually good. Like, the entire series is very interesting. But like, it shows that like the US's focus became, we have a rival and we have to win. And like, technology advanced, and we got so much further in like the space race than we are currently. That's what I'm talking about. Is like, this country used to be focused on advancing, and now we're talking about solar panels, Marines having solar panels. We're not talking about how like China is essentially just like laying claim to the Eastern Hemisphere. We're not talking about how like they will encroach on Taiwan and Hong Kong all they want. And, these are our allies, and that we should be prepared for, not even ascendant China. China is here. We're talking about solar panels.
It's incredible to me that we live in a culture that has been good enough for long enough where we are more concerned about virtue signaling our mode of energy versus whether or not we have it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about the United States of America and our success in the world, that we are consumed with the boredom of this sort of virtue signaling. And it represents just the decadence of Western society, that these are the things that we're concerned about.
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, so one of the many things that I think Trump was instrumental in doing is bringing China as an issue to the forefront. Because I'm telling you, before he even ran, no one was talking or thinking about China. The libs for the longest time were like, and to this day are still like Russia, Putin. They're like the number 14th GDP or something. They bought a couple $100 in Facebook ads, and they think that, oh my God, Putin's going to take over the world. Meanwhile, China's at the point, not just militarily, where there are incursions from Chinese military on like every surrounding country. Beyond that, now you see Hollywood has to bow down to them because they know where they make their money. Like even culturally, China's, the Chinese government is sinking their claws into this country. And it's a shame that our leaders right now in the White House are focused on solar panels, which are also made in China.
Yikes.
So, I mean, obviously this is one of the reasons why regular Americans throughout the middle of this country are becoming more Republican and more conservatives, because liberals are obviously becoming more obsessed with the decadent sort of excesses of the world. But I can tell you one thing that's not a decadent excess, and it's the merch of the Ruthless.
Yeah, I was going to try to steal that second and be like, what's not made in China? Ruthless merch made in Hebron, Kentucky, baby.
Let me just tell you, Duncan, I think we may have even caught you a little flat-footed. It looked like Hollywood Hen got out there on a porch, threw some merch on, and just tweeted it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. As I told the audience,
finally, the internet button.
I hit the
knew
internet
there was
button.
the internet button. I was like,
I hit the internet button. I hit it numerous times. I hit it numerous times to produce this merchandise. I'm happy to do so. And yeah, we got the samples back. And
man, it looks so cool. It looks
so
rad.
It's good
I knew. I told you, like, even when you're like, hey, we have to quality control. I feel that. Like, Duncan cares. He's very passionate about his work. He wants to make sure it's flawless before it gets out to the public. I appreciate that. When I saw the design, I was like, this is going to be so fire. Just put it up there. He's like, not until we get it in our hands. And folks, confirmed, it is fire.
Dude, when is this thing going to go? By the time people are listening to this,
will it by the time you've listened to this, I've already gotten like the shirt, the metal water bottle, and the hoodie, and probably something else. We'll see what else.
Yeah,
and I've already gotten those.
Merch is live.
All right, confirmed. I'm already getting those.
So, all right. So the second piece of this that you just told me, and I didn't know, is that the more merch we sell, the more options are going to be available, right?
That's right.
So, like, if we sell a bunch of shirts, we get hats.
Yeah.
And all I really want is a hat.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there. There's hats. There's a bunch of other apparel options that come if you sell enough T-shirts and the water bottles and the coffee mugs, then you get access to the rest of the archive of content to customize.
I think I saw in there, if we sell 10,000 shirts, there's a banana hammock.
Well, folks, now we know the target. I need one of those for the summer.
Please no.
I'm trying to hit Miami in style.
Do not make me design a banana hammock. Because this is what happens. This is what happens. I design a banana hammock. We put it in the store, and then all you guys cyberbully me into like wearing the banana hammock.
Exactly.
He already sees where
no one
going.
wants to see that. I see all the angles. I see the angles.
You totally, in less than 5 seconds, non-previewed, you figured it out.
But so now that it's live, it's store.ruthlesspodcast.com. By the time you hear this, I've already gotten the shirt, the water bottle, and the hoodie, and I might just get that sticker so I can just like throw it on something too.
Yeah. And if you just go to ruthlesspodcast.com, you'll see it up there in the navigation under merch.
Perfect.
So, I mean, look, I try to do my due diligence here, put together some good stuff. I hope everybody likes it. And we'll keep, rolling stuff out, over the course of the next few months.
Dude, I'm so excited about this. And I got to tell you,
I want to do a little housekeeping real quick. I wanted to thank everybody. We had a live watch for the Clarence Thomas documentary.
Oh yeah,
last week, where apparently it was banned by Amazon because, of course, you think the left can let us celebrate one of, if not the greatest Supreme Court justice of all time. We had a great time. And I appreciate it because, like I said on the previous episode, the life of Clarence Thomas is unbelievable. From true abject poverty of having nothing. His grandfather couldn't even read, to now he's a Supreme Court justice and what he has accomplished. And by the grace of God, we are now at this point where we're living with the Clarence Thomas court and no longer the John Roberts court. Sorry, John Roberts, you messed up. But now, he's done incredible things already, and I can only, imagine what's coming next. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in for that.
A hell of a tribute. Good work, Smug. I know everybody enjoyed it. One thing that we need to get to here off the top before we get into serious business is it turns out, I don't know if the media just like collectively listens to the Ruthless variety program and then decides what their content is. I think that's probably partially the case. Mm-hmm. But, you remember when we talked about fighting horses and whatnot, and then they did a poll on fighting animals. Well, last week we talked about being dropped into nature, right? And your overabundance of confidence, I would say.
Sure. I mean, but it's back. I back it up.
Well, I mean, it remains to be seen.
It's not cocky; it's confidence. That's the difference.
Okay. Well, we'll call it what it is. We'll call it confidence until we actually drop you into nature and then can measure it, which I don't recommend. But here's the thing: park rangers now are warning people to please not do what Smug is suggesting, because what they've seen is an amazing, well, let me just quote it. We have seen a disturbing amount of overconfidence paired with inexperience in the Alaska range.
Well, here's, like I said in our previous segment, one thing to note is which biome are you being, dropped off in? Because folks, the cold is tough. You don't want to mess with Alaska. I love Alaska. I've been there. I've been through a lot of beautiful places, Anchorage, Skagway. I love that state to death. You don't want to mess with Alaska. Alaska's a no-joke state, right?
Okay. Well, we've learned something here. Smug, do not mess with Alaska.
Yeah. You don't want to be out in the cold and surviving because, that'll get you. That'll get you. It's a lot tougher go out there.
Well, the Rangers agree with you. And, they say, while climbers may have had a good deal of experience in elevations up to 14,000 feet in the lower 48, the remoteness and the extreme weather we get in Alaska make the experience more challenging and dangerous. Apparently, they're losing climbers left and right up there.
Yeah, folks, you got to think this through. You got to take it very serious if you embark on such a thing. You don't, you have to realize. So I was blessed to be, born in Denver. I did my scouting days a mile high. I'm used to very high elevations and, difficult terrain and such. That's, born and bred in that. But, for the casual folks out there, I do not recommend, you don't want to jump on like the diamond, ski trail on your first time, folks. You got to get some experience under your belt.
Jesus. I can't even imagine Smug. Okay, you know what? Let's move on. I think this next segment ties in neatly because it's about DoorDash and Uber Eats and how the future of everything is about an hour.
And that's the thing. That's the thing about all this is Smug. He's offering people advice on how to survive in all the elements. But as I recall, when there was a lockdown of your block in Washington, D.C., and Uber Eats and DoorDash couldn't get to your apartment, you had a minor freak out. You barely survived that.
I survived. I had to go out through the military checkpoints at the National Guard. Secret Service had streets closed down where I'd roll up and they're like, "Hey, this is Secret Service. You got to turn around, buddy. This street is closed." Like I'm saying, in all environments, I'm like a wolf. You drop me anywhere. So now we're in like a urban, military occupied environment. I still found my way. You know, even though Uber Eats wasn't delivering, DoorDash wasn't delivering, I couldn't even get my Amazon packages. I was like, you know what, folks, I'm we're gonna have to hoof it. So I went out to the Palm, met out with some buddies, had a nice dinner.
I mean, the best part is he acts like he's a refugee 2,000 miles in, and he's got to walk like less than a mile.
There were like more troops in DC than in like Afghanistan and Iraq combined. City under occupation, and
He had to slum it. He had to slum it over at the Palm.
But the thing is, when I see this article that says like for DoorDash and Uber Eats, the future is everything about an hour. I'm like, yes, and that's the complaint. Is it, many folks have probably noticed it's all become like an hour. Like the days of like you could get something in 30 minutes, gone. Like Uber Eats priority, yeah, I pay that $1.49, but the guy's still showing up in an hour. So
come on,
the in an hour is not like something to be proud about. It's the problem. Like we need to go for the 30-minute goal. Remember how back in the day, it used to be like Domino's was like, we'll get you your pizza in 30 minutes or less, right? And then they started having accidents because like these pizza delivery guys, they got the job done. There's going to be a price to pay. But we used to have 30 minutes or less, and now we're celebrating an hour. What happened to this country?
Unbelievable.
Such an urban take. It's incredible. Spoken like a guy who hasn't actually gotten takeout. It's not delivered in years.
I'm not showing up to pick it up. Not my job.
I love it. Okay. All right. So let's get into the meat of the program if they'll allow. And the one thing that popped out to me, we've been talking about this in the program for the last month, but now even the journos can't entirely ignore inflation.
Yep.
Right? So, but they can't like say it's a problem, right? Because it goes against their ideology and their
marching orders, essentially.
Yeah, their ongoing campaign. So they've got to try to justify it. But I saw a couple of things that just like sort of blew my mind. Prices jumped 3.6% in April, the fastest pace in 13 years. And that's since 2008, believe it or not.
And that's the thing is like you look at what's become of this country since Joe took over, right?
Yeah.
We had a period of time where like the Russians hacked our gas pipeline, and you were lucky if you could get gas, let alone what you're paying for. The outrageous prices we have for gasoline right now, and then he gives them a pipeline. So all the like Putin puppet stuff you'd heard, yeah, that was absolute nonsense during the Trump years. Now you're seeing someone who's a real Putin puppet, letting them have pipelines, not letting the U.S. We lose 15,000 jobs when he closed down the pipeline in the U.S., but Putin can have his. So that's the Biden doctrine over there. But you look at the way that the prices have gone up. Just in April, 3.6%, fastest pace in 13 years.
Yeah,
right. Like a 2x4 is the new Bitcoin. Like if someone's got like a truck full of wood, they're the richest man in town.
I mean, so here's the CPI, right? The core price index, which strips out volatile fuel prices. All of it rose 3.1% in April, right? That's the fastest since 1992. Here's the problem. The paychecks of Americans are now worth 3.1% less than they were a year ago.
If you have a job, like our country is still coming back from a pandemic, and now we're dealing with the Biden inflation.
And now you understand, right? So conservatives have known this from the very beginning, but like for those of us who have sort of stood athwart the collective demands of the last year and a half, 2 years, demanding people just get sent checks over and over and over and over and over again, the value of money goes down, right? And that doesn't actually hurt rich people. It actually hurts poor people because their money is not worth what it was. And the capacity to buy basic needs goes up and up and up, right? Everything goes up and up and up. But like, who cares if you can't buy a third vacation home? Who gives a shit, right? That's not a problem. What is a problem was when you can't buy bread, milk, food, whatever for your family. But that's what's happening. And here is what drove me absolutely bonkers. I saw this piece in Axios over the weekend. Here, I'm going to quote it. Inflation isn't always and necessarily a bad thing. It's one of many variables in the economy, and its presence helps some groups of people and harms others.
Imagine.
It's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. So they go on to say, if inflation is driven by wage hikes for people earning less than $60,000 per year, it's not even clear that that would be a net negative for the U.S. Well, guess what, folks? It's not. It's not.
The audacity. Like, this tells you, like, really, we don't have journalists. We don't have a media anymore. These are just mouthpieces. These are unofficial press secretaries for the DNC who are saying, listen, we know everything's more expensive, but hey, maybe it could be a good thing. Don't complain, peons. Keep working for less.
It is interesting that Axios is now basically conceding the fact that this inflation is real, because for a while they wouldn't even concede that fact.
That's right.
But now it's, if inflation is driven by wage hikes, it's not driven by wage hikes. It's driven by the trillions of dollars we've pumped into the economy over the last year, number one. And then also, we're sending people checks not to work. So how could this inflation be driven by wage hikes? It doesn't make any sense.
It's like the media is going through those stages of grief. What was the first? Is like denial. First, they're like, it's not happening.
Right.
They're finally
bargaining.
getting around to like bargaining.
Yeah. Now they're bargaining. Sooner or later, they'll get around to acceptance.
They also have this hilarious circular reasoning going on. The White House has this going on too. And they tell consumers in a statement here that in real terms, they're actually not paying anything more, right? So this is in real terms. As Americans are hitting the road, they're paying less in real terms for gas that they have on average over the last 15 years. They're paying about the same as they did in May 2018 and 2019. So the argument basically is we've made your money worth less. So technically, you're not paying as much because we broke the economy.
And it's like, the difference in May 2018 and May 2019, we had a roaring economy under Trump. Like, do you remember what summer of 2018 was like, folks? Do you remember what summer of 2019 was like? It was impossible.
And full employment.
Unemployment was what, like
we had
3%?
full employment. Yeah, we had full employment in this country. What is she talking about?
She's like, hey, just because, there's been a pandemic and inflation's going up. Listen, folks, it's okay. Incredible take. The whole argument is we've made your money worth less. So technically you're not paying as much because we broke the economy and have runaway inflation. Outstanding work. Outstanding work.
Good work, everybody. But here's the thing. The only people that don't understand, it does not take a significant mathematical degree to figure out what's happening. When you pump trillions of dollars worth into the economy, dollars are going to be worth less. Prices are going to go up. The only people that can't understand this are liberals. And but it goes on and on and on, because also on Friday, Biden releases this budget that is like, what, $6 trillion?
Total Memorial Day weekend dump. They're like, don't look at this.
Oh, and this is, by the way, I don't want to get too into the weeds about what all this means, but the reason that this matters is because this is the framework that they use to pass all the tax increases on you next year, right? So they have to pass this thing at some point to use this sort of bizarre something called reconciliation that they can pass through the Senate to get around Cocaine Mitch. And this is what they came up with, $6 trillion. But here's where this thing is just beautiful. Beautiful. I got a 2018 headline from the New York Times about a Trump budget of $4.4 trillion and a 2021 headline in the New York Times of the Biden budget were $6 trillion. You want to?
That's the thing is, like, the key difference you see is in 2018, the New York Times is like, White House proposes $4.4 trillion budget that adds $7 trillion to deficits. But when it's Biden, they just say, oh, he's just proposing $6 trillion budget to make the U.S. more competitive. It says nothing about deficits, nothing about deficits. And that's not an accident.
That's
not an accident.
That's the actual headline. Smug is not ad-libbing. The actual headline is White House proposes $4.4 trillion budget that adds $7 trillion to deficits.
Yeah, that's Trump.
Biden proposes $6 trillion budget to make U.S. more competitive.
Yeah, 50% more spending. They don't say a word about deficits. They say it makes the U.S. more competitive.
Dude, this is a campaign, guys. This is a campaign. Yeah. And I mean, we cover this every episode. But the moment that you think you're reading anything objective in any of these newspapers, you have lost your mind. It is not objective. It is a permanent campaign to try to bring America to a Western European view of the world, right? It is to try to socialize America, to try to make us, basically adopt the values of California and urban coastal elites everywhere.
It's basically like you just said. It's like, bringing the California values, a state that's like completely bankrupt, right? Where they needed, like, essentially Biden is handing out bailouts to these broke states who've been spending like a drunken sailor and look like, it's an absolute mess. Like, it's heartbreaking going into LA and San Francisco and seeing what has happened over the past 10 years of absolute Dem control of, they legalize breaking the law, which is what has basically become of San Francisco. No one likes visiting there anymore. You see what happens when they can spend on their crazy ideas. It's like they take everyone's money and just want to experiment with it. And they end up with the same results that socialism has always had through history. It fails, if you spend a ton of money, yes, prices are going to go up. And the people who suffer the most are who they advocate that we're trying to help. We're trying to help, poor folks. We're trying to help disadvantaged people. There's an article in the New York Post where it says that restaurants are raising prices among soaring costs and labor shortages. The price of everything is going up. That's the rising cost. And the labor shortage is like, people have calculated, well, if I get a check, why am I going to work? If I make more just like not working, why would I work? So small businesses are getting squeezed. Every American is paying more. A lot of people are making less, especially due to the inflation. And this is the Biden administration saying, oh, as planned. Everything's going as planned. Yeah, and listen, folks, that is their plan.
It really is ridiculous. I was out last week walking my dog pretty early, and there was a contractor pulling up and doing some remodeling in some house in my neighborhood. And I just started talking to him and, asked him how business was. And he was like, yeah, it's great. I mean, everybody's doing work. I guess that's like a byproduct of COVID in neighborhoods that can afford it. But he's like, the real problem is I can't find anybody to work.
Wow.
Like, I just can't. He's trying his very best to get people, very much above wages that he paid, and nobody wants to do it. And
this is the reward. This is the reward for all these businesses that survived a year of lockdown, is that the Biden administration continues to pay people to stay home. Yeah. These businesses that survived. Yeah. And now they have to struggle with this.
Yep. Just incredible.
It's just unbelievable.
So, but there is one silver lining of COVID, fellas, and this is my hot take of the day. Libs can't re-enter.
I know this article. Keep going. This is crazy.
They're having a very difficult time. The U.S. has reported, this is according to CNBC, the U.S. has reported the lowest number of COVID-19 cases in more than a year. And as the nation's airports over Memorial Day weekend experienced the largest number of travelers since it began, the libs are still having a problem here, fellas. The libs.
Yeah. And this is the thing is, so, there were so many libs who freaked out. They're like, oh no, we're being told we don't have to wear masks if we're vaccinated. Like, that tells you it wasn't about the science. Like Buttigieg said that wearing a mask on an airplane is about courtesy. Like, okay, that's letting the science dictate the facts. Once people are vaccinated, of being like, oh, it's about a courtesy. But so I saw this article in the Atlantic, and this I thought this just completely crystallized the lib world view on COVID. The headline, folks, was, I'm not scared to re-enter society. I'm just not sure I want to. There it is. That's what this is all about.
Couple of awesome quotes from this piece. The grace period is almost at an end. The dread specter of normality looms.
I mean, this has been like again when Rom says that, like, don't let a crisis go to waste, and they're like, build back better. Like, this is everything they've ever wanted. They want you to just like live in a pod, go eat cicadas, go eat bugs, live in a pod. Don't go outside. Don't have sunlight. Don't have families. Don't have a yard.
Did you guys
eat bugs? Live in a pod.
Hey, Duncan, did you pick up?
A very soft day on cicada.
Is it cicada?
Cicada. It's a cicada.
Cicada, folks.
It's like people who say Nevada instead of Nevada. I love it.
It's very on brand. It's program, right? It's Peloton.
Is it really cicada?
Cicada.
Cicada. It sounds fancy.
They want to use cicadas.
I might eat a cicada. I'm not eating a cicada. Cicada sounds fancy.
It sounds like you could maybe marinate a cicada.
Well, that's what they want. They're like, everybody, tonight we're serving cicada pate in your pod. That's like the lib dream. They're like, yes, eating bugs in my pod. I love it.
Oh,
it's pervasive, man. It's everywhere. I tweeted about this over the weekend, but the Virginia Department of Health is running ads online, telling people to double mask to prevent the spread of variants. And this is a state that removed its mask mandate.
Yep.
Over the weekend. And they're still running ads scaring people about how they have to still double mask. What the hell are you doing?
What are you doing?
I mean, we live in suburban Washington, D.C. This is one of the most vaccinated places in the entire country.
Through the roof.
And you're running ads to these people telling them, hey, double mask to prevent variants.
Ugh.
What the hell are you doing?
It's just madness. Absolute madness.
That's we were told for so long, trust the experts, trust the science. We love our scientists. And this is just like contra everything that we've been told. I mean, granted, our experts haven't been the best, like Fauci telling us don't wear masks, then him telling us wear masks, and saying we haven't funded Wuhan, virology lab, then saying, well, maybe we did, and we helped them, figure out how to infect people better. And then, the entire media for like a year being like, it didn't come from a Wuhan virology lab, to now saying, well, it did, and we've always told you. So it's the gaslighting on all of this, and the messaging has been so trash. I mean, what really sucks the most is, Fauci's going to get like the biggest book deal of all time. That's going to be what comes out of this crisis.
All right. So I know we're supposed to do like 1,000 different topics here when there's a bunch of things to hit, but I've got one more at least we've got to do here. And because it goes into our summer of violence,
which I was banking on.
Right. And you picked Summer of Violence. I still think we're going to have a good time here. But I want to have a longer form discussion because I want to clear the decks on everything else, and I just want to do this. We've got airlines that are taking action to prevent alcohol sales. American and Southwest are actually eliminating alcohol sales until further notice for passengers because of the outbreak of violence. And I also have noticed, because I've begun following on Twitter, there's like baseball fights, Twitter handles, whatever, that like an alarming number of like knockout punches delivered in
the ballparks. Where was that fight that I just saw?
Yeah, Seattle or something like that.
Yeah. Some guy landed. He got a good hook in there.
Yeah, oh, that was the Rockies guy. You're talking about the guy that just knocked out the
Oh yeah,
guy,
got him.
not the Rockies guy. Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah, totally. But you're seeing all this, and Smug, I mean, you called Summer of Violence.
I told you, people don't know how to act. It's kind of like the lib said. They're like, we're happy being like locked up and eating bugs, in our apartments alone. People don't know how to act anymore. It's been like a year. It's been a year. People don't realize when you're in public, hey, you have to act like or an adult. They get out, finally, we can have a good time. We can get liquored up. And there's a couple kinds of drunk, there's a few types of drunk. And I think there's just like this pent up anger, right? Across the country of like, holy moly, a year of my life, I've been like stuck at home, haven't been able to go out and meet buddies at the bar. It's like rocket fuel. A lot of folks, they're mad about this. They get boozed up, and it's time to throw hands. And I knew this is what's going to happen, especially with what's getting out there. You've got that, like I said, that Crown Royal Cola. I knew that was going to be a problem.
I knew that was going to be a problem. White Claw Surge.
You're getting like 8%.
Don't blame it on that.
I mean, I'm not blaming it on it. I think that's a good time. Like all that, you get over 8%, I'm on board, right? That's me. That's my wheelhouse all day long.
So,
but
but you notice
that's like fuel on the fire, because we've already got people who are ready to rage out. Yeah, of course, people are going to go nuts. Here's the thing: is you get people and coach boozed up after like a year. Come on, what's happening, folks? You open the cage in the zoo and you throw meat. What's going to happen? Problems.
I love the
Hold on. The coach is the zoo to you?
Coach blast. Unbelievable. Incredible. But I will say it also extends. We talked about baseball over the weekend. Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets got a water bottle thrown at his head from a Boston Celtics fan. But this has happened like 4 or 5 times in the NBA with somebody getting either thrown something at or.
Yeah, I think in the Knicks game, fan got banned for spitting on Young. I mean, like, Knicks fans have never been good people. Like, bottom line, everyone's already known this. This has been like a baseline, but they have gone extra summer of violence. Like, they won one playoff game for the first time in like 50 years, and they all just like went ham.
Let me connect the two segments, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this, folks. You've got libs, a bunch of libs staying at home here, right? Mm-hmm. You got restaurants where you can get reservations. Traffic is fairly good. Just be on your best behavior. If we can just keep it this way for a while, man, it could really work out. No need to throw stuff. No need to be angry. Listen, we're out of our homes. Everybody's excited. It's a summer of love. Let's get going.
You know what I want to point out too, though? What I want to point out about this is like part of the frustration is for over a year, we're told that like, oh my God, look at DeSantis in Florida. His numbers are better than like any Dem governor. He's been crushing it. Did a great job. The media attacked him. They didn't attack Cuomo, who, I mean, do we even need to say what all he did? He didn't attack Whitmer, who's just like had an insane body count in senior homes as well. Or in Pennsylvania, like any of these Dem governors, they were like, oh, these are heroes. You're on CNN watching the Cuomo brothers comedy hour. Meanwhile, in this summer of violence in Atlanta, the homicide rate is up 50% over this time last year.
Yeah.
In New York City, more than 500 people have been shot this year. The highest number in a decade. That's up more than 50% over the same period in 2020. In Chicago, 195 people have been killed as of early May. Like we're in June. That's the highest number in 4 years. Like nearly 1,300 people have been shot, according to the Chicago Tribune. All right. Summer violence is in full effect, and where it's happening the most is where Dems are calling the shots. Literally.
Well, let's just do this for everybody. I want everybody to go home, look at whatever kind of gathering you can have with your friends. Have a couple of cold ones, have the kids rolling around if that's what you got going on, but put a smile on your face, right? Yeah. Because things could be a lot worse. Given where we were a year ago and given where we are now, a lot went right. I know not everybody had the best experience over the last year, but a lot of America is vaccinated. A lot of this virus is going away. No need to beat each other up, guys. We are still the greatest country in the world, and we are proving it every single day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is I wish more left leaning folks would listen to our show because it's clearly them causing all the violence. That's my guess.
Well, that's as good as theory as anyway. So, Duncan, why don't you introduce our? You had an interview here, which I've not heard yet, so I don't know if I should be apologizing for it or not.
Oh yeah, it's a little explicit. And this is the point where I have to tell my mom. My mom listens to the podcast.
Well, I would just, it's not just your mom. Like my mom listens to it too, but also like, Mitch McConnell listens to this. So is this the time where you want to tell him to this is where
it's just a little explicit. I'm just saying it's a little explicit.
And the people cry out for it, and we listen to the people.
Yes, we have the Habibi Bros, Siraj and Jay, on, and they're going to guest play King of the Hill. So let's get right to it. I want to welcome to the program the Habibi Bros, Jay and Siraj. How you guys doing?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How's it going?
Hello, our babies.
It's a sort of a unique way of welcoming you to the program. Why don't you guys explain to our listeners, how you got started with Habibi Bros?
Well, so Siraj and I actually met on Twitter, as people do.
How many accounts was that ago?
That was 13 accounts ago that we met. We met on Twitter.
The
it's
unblockable
it's a
man.
running thing. The unbannable.
Unbannable. Yeah.
That's right.
From there, we were interacting with one another a lot, and we found that we had some good chemistry with each other. So we decided to take it one step further and call each other Habibi Bros. And from there, when quarantine started, we started out doing live Instagram videos for our followers and stuff like that. And seeing the response we got, it grew into doing a podcast a week on YouTube. And from there, it grew a little bit more for us to actually start a Patreon and do 2 to 3 podcast episodes every week, going over the news and giving our perspectives on what's going on in the world.
And so, for those who are unaware, it's a power hour. We call it Habibi Power Hour, and our go-to words for people to drink. I say essentially every other sentence. Jay says 100%, literally every other word, and so those are our 2 trigger words for you to drink. So essentially 100%, and it's we get feeling pretty good during those episodes.
I love it. Now, Siraj, you're pretty famous or infamous on Twitter for the creation of the list, of people, bad tweets of people who need to have their phones taken away. Can you explain a little bit of that for the audience?
Absolutely. So this all started back in December of 2019, and it began when I saw a tweet from George Conway, the Lincoln Project co-founder, big, also the husband of Kellyanne Conway, the former White House advisor. So Kellyanne tweeted on December 2nd, "Watch, Sleepy Joe is Creepy Joe. We need Ukraine's help to defeat this guy." And then George Conway quote tweets his wife saying, "Your boss apparently thought so." And I thought, holy shit, this guy needs to have his phone taken away. I don't care if couples disagree all the time. Dunking on your wife on Twitter in the most public fashion possible. Give me that fucking phone. You don't deserve to have it. And I just came up with a power ranking of people who need their phones taken away. It had George Conway at the top. It was like a total of 5. I was on it for the first month entirely, and then it was a daily thing, turned into a weekly thing, turned into a Patreon, and everybody since I created the list has said I need to have my phone taken away. That's actually part of the joke. I am always deserving to have my phone taken away. In fact, I had a poll done about a month into doing the list saying, am I taking a spot from a more deserving candidate? And overwhelmingly people said yes. So I'm the first retiree that my jersey's hanging up in the list rafters right now of Siraj needing to have his phone taken away. But so do all these other 10 people. So I do a weekly live stream on Twitch. And we basically, me and the Habibis and Jay, get together. We decide which ones are the worst of the week, and then Jay started doing something where he, at the end of every month, he ranks my worst tweets of the month. So it's become a fun thing in that regard.
Well, what I love about the list is it's kind of similar to a game that we play here on Ruthless, King of the Hill. And, for, listeners who might be new to the program, who aren't familiar with the game, I serve as judge and jury, and, Josh and Smug typically come in with their champion, some never Trumper who has really bad brainworm takes. They each select 3 tweets from the past week. I serve as judge and jury. There's 3 rounds. They go tweet for tweet, and best 2 out of 3 wins. We thought it would be great to have you guys come on and sort of guest play King of the Hill. So who do you guys have for us this week?
So I got Bitch Tits.
What was that again, Jay?
Tom Nichols.
He's the guy who took that photo, for those of you unaware, where he's reclining poolside with the newspaper, and he's not wearing a shirt. Quality
just
content.
Letting it all hang out.
Yeah, give those minions some visuals.
I have Jennifer pro-voting Rubin, who is always ill prepared for this interview. I know that she was on last week's show, but she is queen of the list, and hopefully she'll be queen of the hill as well.
That's fantastic. So look, I think, Siraj, you picking Jen Rubin, is sort of the cheat code. Typically, she has the best or worst takes. So I think it's only fair that you have to go first in round 1. So,
now, and I stipulate this: it would be uncharacteristic and not true to myself if I did not pick Jen Rubin. Just FYI,
Oh, yeah.
I know she's the cheat code, but she is also queen of the list. So I will go first. Jennifer Rubin quotes on May 30th, tweets, quote, "If Bibi leaves office and prosecution results in conviction, might be a wake-up call at Mar-a-Lago." This is obviously in reference to the coalition government that was formed in Israel, which could lead to Bibi Netanyahu's ouster as prime minister, ending a 12-year rule, which could happen. It's not finalized yet as of this recording, but this is the type of blue anon type of shit, thinking that Robert Mueller is just going to perp walk Donald Trump out of the White House, that over the Russia investigation that the resistance has had for 4 fucking years. It's just chef's kiss. Amazing.
Yeah,
Jay, what you got?
She's so hard to compete with. But quote tweeted on May 26th, "Hey, remember when people got mad at me for calling the GOP a death cult?" And the tweet he's quote tweeting is from Charlie Sykes. And Charlie Sykes is tweeting insanity. "It would also prevent governments, insurers, or businesses from offering incentives for people to get vaccinated or even request that people get vaccinated." This is GOP governor and lawmakers are clashing over, how to get more people vaccinated. So it's funny to me that the vaccine is free. It's out there. You don't need the government to offer any incentives for people to go and get the vaccine or get vaccinated. So for him, it's just, to me, it's funny because he thinks that this right here gives him an out for calling the GOP a death cult over vaccine incentives.
So Radio Free Tom was on King of the Hill recently, and he was making fun of the Ohio lottery, for people who get vaccinated, and he was making fun of French fry giveaways for vaccines and all these sorts of things. I mean, the thing I love about Radio Free Tom is he never misses an opportunity, obviously to hate on the GOP, but also like just normal people.
Right.
He just seems like the worst guy who has no friends. It's incredible.
It's exactly right.
Siraj, what I like about that Jen Rubin take is there's been a lot of the Never Trumpers very excited at the prospect of Bibi Netanyahu, being ousted as prime minister. What I find fascinating about this situation is, if Naftali Bennett, who is right wing as well, forms a unity, quote unquote, unity government with a bunch of left wing and center left parties, it's sort of the Never Trump dream, right? Like
Really is,
Naftali
yeah.
Bennett has a very small voting block, so it's sort of like in a Never Trump dream. Somehow, they work with the left, despite having an extremely small constituency of Never Trumpers, but then somehow become prime minister of a country.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the more I've read about it, the more that's fascinating about it is that the reason for the dissatisfaction with Bibi in the polling is that he hasn't hit Hamas harder, and that is why he might actually get ousted. This is like the this 11-day or 14-day war, whatever, however many days it was. The fact that he didn't just go in and destroy them is actually what got this stalemate government to finally be like, all right, that's enough. We need to get him out. Crazy, really. So
it's incredible. So look, I think they're both really good tweets. I'm a fan of both. But the idea that Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel being ousted as prime minister would somehow inform Donald Trump being investigated or indicted is just next level Jen Rubin content. I got to give you round one.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Oh, by the way, Michael, can I just state for the record that in Reagan War Crimes, my gamer tag is Jen Rubin 69. That is actually a fact.
Jesus.
I feel like I'm Krillin going up against Goku. That's what this is. This is how bad this matchup is right now.
Okay, Jay, you got to go first in round two.
All right, here we go. So on May 2026, Tom, he quote tweets Lisa Booth, who tweeted out this saying like lockdowns don't work, masks and social distancing are theater, and you don't need the vaccine if you aren't high risk because the fatality rate is not much higher than the flu. Live free. And then he quote tweets and he's like, there are people arguing with this tweet as if facts would matter here. If Google Translate had Fox to English feature, this tweet says, I like money and I like being on television. And I will say whatever it takes to allow me to get more of both of those things. And the funniest thing about this tweet is that it is exactly
that's what he does.
Who he is. It's projection to the fullest. He will say and do anything to get on NBC, to get on CNN, whatever he can, pretending to be some expert in some sort of field, expert of experts or whatever the fuck his book is called. And it's just lovely to watch him do that and say exactly what he is to somebody else. And the funny thing is, a lot of the facts and a lot of the facts in Lisa Bluth's tweet are on her side too. Like it's not all like wrong what she's saying. So it's like the cherry on top.
What I really like about that is just such a lack of self-awareness, from a guy who goes on Twitter every day and people are in his replies making fun of him. You would think, gosh, I could never have the confidence to just tweet that out, knowing what I do for a living and what I do to make my money.
Right. It's too good.
All right, Siraj, what do you got for us?
All right, I hope this stacks up against Jay's. This is from May 28th, and Jen Rubin, she tweets out an article from Politico with a headline that reads, Neera Tanden is back. Could she be more powerful? Jennifer Rubin tweets, quote, a rare accurate story from Politico. She has more influence and range as a senior advisor, end quote. And I just want to point out, for one, Neera Tanden, simping for Neera Tanden is just the ultimate turn for Jennifer Rubin. On top of just being never Trump, it's another thing to be just like anti-Trump. It's another thing to be just so pro-Democrat of like anything that's happening in the Biden administration. For me, Neera Tanden is just it's really just a moment to just savor, because she was denied OMB director because of her mean tweets. I love the John Kennedy bit where he basically said, you called Bernie Sanders everything but an ignorant slut. And then it's just for Neera Tanden, and just on a personal note, the whole incel thing that follows me around is because of Neera Tanden. She called me an incel because I put her on the list one time, and then she blocked me, and that has just stuck with me for the last like year and a half. I mean, and then I told, what's even better is that I told my mom and my family this, and my mom's like, well, maybe you deserved it.
Your mom took her side. It's incredible. No, see, yeah. I mean, I love Neera. I love Neera because, I mean, she's just an all-time poster. You know, I mean, she will go into the mentions to reply at 2 a.m. to a random person with 10 followers. And you just got to respect that hustle in the game from somebody, you know, who's ostensibly a leader in the Democratic Party. What I like about this tweet is like Jen Rubin, right? Yeah. She says she is conserving conservatism. She's pro-voting. She's the real conservative. And now she's not just like pro-Joe Biden, pro the Democratic Party. She's like cheerleading for like staffer level decision making in the White House, which is just incredible. And the audience for that tweet is like 10 people, right? It's like Ron Klain and a bunch of other people in Washington, D.C. It's like, who are you trying to convince here, Jed?
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. And I mean, look, we've done a few episodes on Neera Tanden. You've provided content that in normal circumstances would certainly be up my alley as judge and jury. But I can't go against Radio Free Tom's lack of self-awareness in that tweet. So Jay, you win round 2. Boom.
Yeah, let's go.
Literally Islamophobia. Literally Islamophobia. I'm calling
Muslim on Muslim crime. Let's go.
Okay, so round 3, and Siraj, you got to go first, man. So this is
all right.
This is tough.
So this is Jen Rubin tweets this on May 28th, saying, "Quote: Scott, as in Senator Tim Scott, votes no and is doing the negotiating on police reform. What a freaking joke." End quote. Obviously, the no vote that she's referring to is on the January 6th commission, which failed in the Senate. I just love this tie-in here that just because he's voting against the January 6th commission, which we all know would be a partisan circus, the likes of which we have never seen before, and then going after him for his actual genuine intent to try to reform our police departments and address the issue of police brutality on not just all Americans, but specifically on Black and brown Americans. I just love that she's just trying to undermine him and say, just because he votes no on one thing, everything else is bullshit.
Well, and then also, I mean, it was the Democrats that filibustered his police reform bill last fall, right?
Exactly.
And so it's just.
In fact, incredible. I think it was Nancy Pelosi who pinned the death of George Floyd on Republicans in the heat of that debate.
That's right. Mm-hmm. All right, Jay, what do you got to answer? This is okay. Important, man. It all comes down to this.
This is it. This is the good one here. So I think this one works really well. This is the Morning Joe had a segment, and they tweeted on May 25th with Stacey Abrams and saying, "This is not about a concern about our democracy or voting. It's about holding on to power for a group of people who do not believe that they can win fairly if they have to simply present their ideology to the people." And then Tom quote tweets, "This is really the story of the modern GOP. In addition to all the other chicanery, it no longer believes it can sell what few ideas it has to anyone, including themselves. It's like the last Yugo dealership run by some low-level mafia guys as a money laundering operation." And what I love about this is that he's quote tweeting this with Stacey Abrams, who still has yet to acknowledge losing
gubernatorial race. Yeah,
exactly right. And she's been on a pathway as much as possible to continually to lie about any kind of voting bill. And for him to say that the GOP are running with these laws because they don't have ideas to get votes while simping and quote tweeting Stacey Abrams as an authoritative figure on this. It makes me laugh so hard watching this, especially watching what Stacey Abrams has done throughout her career after the governorship run.
Oh, that's Governor Stacey Abrams, Jay.
My apologies. I'm sorry.
Dare you disrespect
I'm sorry.
That's a good tweet. We've covered it previously on the program, but Stacey Abrams calls the Georgia election reform bill Jim Crow 2.0 because there's changes to some of the early voting rules. I mean, what she doesn't tell you is when she was in the Georgia state legislature, she cut early voting from 45 days to 21 because there were rural counties that were like, we don't have the resources to staff, election offices for 45 days. And it wouldn't even be efficient to have 45 days because, we don't have a huge population. And she actually justified those changes as being more efficient and cost saving. And now it's Jim Crow 2.0. You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. Essentially 100%.
100%. I mean, adding more voting booths.
That means I have to drink now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll drink. We all got to drink. Yep.
We all got to drink.
Okay. So, these are both really good. Gosh, Tim Scott tweet by Jen Rubin or a Stacey Abrams tweet. Just absolute friend of the program and total villain of democracy, Stacey Abrams. I like Radio Free Tom's tweet. However, it's like an essay, man. Like, take that shit to live streaming. That was so long. Why is it so
I should have
long?
gone with the other one. I should have gone with the 3 words of sums it up.
No, Jay. Joe.
That was so good.
Jay, there's no take backsies. There's no take backsies.
No take backs.
No appeals, Jay. There are
it's
no
all good.
appeals.
He did the left, right, up, down, A, B.
Select,
start. I can't do anything about it.
That's a win. That's a win for Siraj and Jen Rubin. Congratulations.
Let's go, Jen Rubin, 69 forever.
Oh man, fellas, great to have you guest play King of the Hill. Great content, great guests. I want to give you guys a chance to give all the listeners, plug of your stream, your Patreon. What do you got?
Absolutely. So you could, if you want to check us out, we do have a Twitter handle at Habibi_bros. You can also check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/Habibi Bros. I'm at Siraj A. Hashmi on Twitter. Jay, where are you at now? Say the full name.
I'm at Ahmed L. Aslikin. And
no, what's the at though?
The at is at Aslikin.
Jesus. Should be easy to find.
Don't think there's many out there.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for doing this. It was great to have you guys on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Congratulations on having the nicest episode of the podcast series. 69. You gotta love it.
MashaAllah.
See you guys.
Okay.
It's good stuff.
Well, that's a good time to be had. I mean, we essentially turned, the Memorial Day 3-day weekend and a 4-day weekend with this podcast, folks.
I love it.
It's good.
Let's just, you know what? Let's get it out of here. Everybody go on to store.ruthless.com. Is that what it is?
No, it's store.ruthlesspodcast.com, or just go to the website, ruthlesspodcast.com. You'll see it in the navigation under merch.
Store.ruthlesspodcast.com. I've already hit it up by the time you've heard this. Excellent episode, folks. Thank you so much to our guests. Our numbers still, keep going up. We appreciate all of you telling your friends and family to subscribe. And we appreciate you so much. So until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. Stay ruthless. We'll see you on Thursday.